And welcome along to everybody as we join the formation lap in sound and vision, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV together at St. Pete's, along the shoreline and down the airport. We're on the left-hand coast of Florida, St. Petersburg, great racing town. They love their motorsport here. Just 14 corners in the 1.8 miles. Action areas at the end of the runway at turn 1, heavy braking into turn 4, then the run down the shoreline, another overtaking manoeuvre potentially at turn 10. I'm John Hindorf, and alongside me is Shea Adam, our IMSA Radio pit lane reporter. We'll have her thoughts in a moment after we run you down the grid for what is round 5 of the Idemitsu MX-5 Cup 2021 presented by BF Goodrich. It's Michael Carter on the front row with Gresham Wagner, Carter Racing and Spark Performance, then Macumbi Macaleer Racing, Sam Paley, Celine Roland, Hickson Motorsport in 4th position, then Justin Piscatel in position number 5, Jared Thomas in 6, Williams, Nunes at Mars and Ortiz for your top 10. Lonnie Unser just outside the top 10 and 11, should be pleased with that qualifying. Jason Altsman in 12th. Can he come forward after a great run in the second race at Sebring? The rest of the field following through. 22 cars, and welcome to the broadcast. Shea Adam, some gossip from the pit lane from you, please.
Motorsports car coming together on their first flying lap. Drake Kemper, birthday boy by the way, turns big 3-0 today, got into the back of teammate Aaron Johnson. It resulted in Aaron needing a new car. That means that they had to find one from Wagner. Gresham Wagner, starting on the outside of the front row, lent a car over to Johnson. It's basically the same car that we're used to, still a 2019 model year. It looks very different though, John. This is a car that normally wears the Soul Red livery because Aaron was the scholarship winner from last year. Well, he still has a Soul Red hood, but the rest of the car is black, black, black.
So, Shea Adam has watched many races down through the years with us on IMSA Radio and across the RSL network, and it looks like we're after another cracker today with the gaps in qualifying very, 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 very tight indeed. The green flag is in the air as we head to the start line. Pretty even break down the runway, big difference in how much grip there is on the painted area. Side by side in the first corner, the front two rows have stayed pretty much the same. Nicely done by everybody. Keep an eye on what's going on further back. Still almost side by side. A little bit of an overlap there. The bright silver car on the outside. Jared Thomas looking to move up in the 96 car and does so. He's up in the 4th position. That was a nice brave move early on as they head into the tight right-hander at turn 4. The tyres look very, very close there to me. Gresham Wagner from Michael Carter, Celine Roland. Then Jared Thomas, the mover early on. Sam Paley in 5th. That's been a good run as well by the number 32 of Chris Nunes.
Chris Nunes does list this track as his favorite of the year, along with Aaron Johnson, Sam Paley, Lonnie Unser, and Savannah Little. So we do have 5 drivers who basically have never driven on this track before. Actually, no, none of them have driven on this track before, yet they consider it to be the best one on the calendar.
The last round of the championship, of course, last year, and this 45-minute race with the big dash down the front straight. We know how big a hole in the air these MX-5s make. Wagner and Carter, a little bit of a gap to roll on. Oh, bit of a challenge. Wasn't expecting to see that this early on, as Michael Carter in the 08, the car with the white side, goes inside and outside and takes the lead through turns 1 and 2. Lovely. absolutely fantastic, Shea.
That was a great move, and it's interesting because that part of the track is one that race control is watching very closely. They had cars going 4 wheels on the inside of the curves. They had to say, no, 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 do not do that in practice. You'll have your lap disallowed. If you do it multiple times in the race, you're going to get black flagged. So that is an area that we need to keep an eye on, because a lot of these drivers view it as a passing opportunity. Race control does not.
Well, talking to Celine Roland on Midweek Motorsport early in the week, and he was saying that the guys at the front do sort of have an unwritten law about working together to see if they can break the toll, and then maybe you've got no worse than 3rd position if you've got a breakaway of 3. At the moment, that breakaway is 5. Stretching down to 5th position, and Sam Paley in the black Mazda MX-5. Absolutely street stock motor in these cars. They are sealed, you can't tinker with the 180 horsepower 2-litre engine that you would get in a stock road going car, but the rest of the car is basically taken apart and put back together again with a huge amount of racing parts, including a SADEV sequential gearbox and all the requisite safety equipment as well. And Shea Adam has some news of penalties. The start perhaps not as clean as I thought it was, Shea.
No, it was under review and deemed as having made a false start. Moise Uretsky in the number 55 from McCumbee Mackley Racing, and Zachary Lee, again, McCumbee Mackley Racing in the 48. They went a little bit too soon, so they're both going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. The good news is they are team cars, so they can work together to try and catch back up to the pack, which is exactly what Aaron Johnson and Drake Kemper are doing. Remember, they started on the last row. They're currently up to 19th and 20th, so they have passed 2 cars already, looking to try and continue working up through the field.
And only 11 seconds behind the leader. Now that's a lot of Mazda MX-5s in between them and the leader, but it's not a huge amount of real estate. Then again, the laps are only 1 minute and 25. Michael Carter with the fastest lap of the race so far. Down the front straight again to the inside. This time it's the 5 of Gresham Wagner. That's the red, white and black car. Sitting in behind them is Celine Roland. Then Jared Thomas. Here comes the cars into the pit lane for that jump start penalty as the battle for the lead continues. Wagner now ahead from Carter in second. Then Celine Roland. Oh, lovely move down the inside from Sam Paley to go into 4th position at turn 4. Jared Thomas didn't close the door. I think probably pretty sensibly. Leaders heading on to the harbour side with just on 5 minutes of racing completed. And it is Wagner, Carter and Roland by about 1.2 seconds now to the singleton 4th place. Sam Paley. I think Jared Thomas made just a little mistake in the JTR Motorsport silver car, because he has... Oh yeah, he's got a problem. Thomas has got a problem. He's pulled off to the right-hand side. I just thought that didn't look right for him. He dropped back a long way. Now, I didn't see any contact with the wall. It doesn't mean there hasn't been any. But Jared Thomas is dropping down. Was 4th at the start of this lap, and he's dropped out of the line. He must be heading to the pit lane.
I think he is. I think I saw the silver car with the yellow roll cage diving into the pit lane off of driver's right when you exit that final corner. But right now, we have a tale of 2 complete opposite stories. This race last year, one of the races was won by Michael Carter. The pole sitter was Gresham Wagner. He didn't turn a lap in either of the races, so he's wasting no time trying to get up to the front of the pack. But also, John, important to remember, bonus points for leading the most laps. Right now, laps led goes heavily towards Gresham Wagner. Before the race began, he had led 52 laps on the season. The 2 guys battling him right now, with Michael Carter and Celine Roland, they've led 5 apiece before this green flag. It is definitely Wagner's advantage.
And in a tight championship like this, that could make a difference when we add the points up to the final time at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta at the end of the season. Carter with Roland now behind him in that multicoloured paint scheme, or final scheme as it is now. Livery probably would be the better word to use. He's right there with the leader, curb hopping in third. Wagner for Spark Performance. So it's Carter Racing Enterprises, then it's Hickson, then it's Spark, McCumbee McAleer Racing. And where's Pearley gone? Pearley's disappeared as well. So now that's interesting, Shay, because that's the two cars that were fourth and fifth have now both dropped away. I did not see them come together. Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
No, and it's one of those things that Sam Paley is now showing is stopped somewhere in the second sector of the racetrack. It's only 1.8 miles. There's not a great deal of space for us to lose a car. But Sam Paley, that's a massive disappointment. He came into this race fifth in the championship, running so well this year, and now he's not even showing up on timing.
So now the battle for fourth is led by the light blue car with the yellow wheels. That's Justin Piscatel, another McCumbee McAleer Racing car. Chris Nunes in JTR Motorsport number 32 is next, and then it is, now that looks to me as though that's the Copeland Motorsport Daniel Williams car. Yes, it is. So those are the second group of three. Now what they kind of sort of need to do now is stop fighting each other and start trying to pull in those leaders and give us a 6-car battle for the finish, rather than the 3 that we have at the moment. Just looking a bit further down, Jensen Altsman up inside the top 10. He started in 12th, he's in 9th now, so he's made a couple of moves. Lonnie Unseld holding on to her position just outside the top 10. She's in 12th at the moment for Hickson Motorsports.
And Lonnie Unser actually is running with a brand new livery this weekend. It mirrors that of an F16, red, white, and blue with the little rivets on it. She's got the Peregrine Foundation, which is based out of Idaho, where she's grown up, trying to help birds of prey rehabilitate and get back out into nature. It's a very cool organization. And then she's also got something to do with helping our nation's heroes. It's an organization that she's wearing on the back of the car. So that car, which now is in shot red, white, and blue American, very much proud for Lonnie Unser to represent those colors.
Little exclamation from me, because Peter Atwater in the Viper green and grey, number 26, is having a real go at the moment. In behind the slipstream, number 36, that is David Staub, and he's alongside, oh no, it's the 92, he's already dispensed with Staub. My apologies, that was the Lonnie Unser car that Shea was talking about.
I think David has a problem, John. He just dropped back 3 places.
Right. So what is going on today? Normally the paragons of reliability, these cars just love racing, and so do their drivers and teams. Big money on offer for this 2021 season. And when I say big money, I mean folding money. Yes, the organisers, of course, would like you to keep it within the series, but there's no necessity for you to do that. But the sums, Shea, are staggering. Over $550,000 will be awarded at the end of season banquet later this year.
Yeah, $250,000 for the champion. You get paid all the way down to 10th place, though, so you do stand a chance of coming away with some good money just for running a full season of the championship. $80,000 goes the way of the Rookie of the Year. There's also 2 scholarships that Mazda offer, in addition to the championship funds from this banquet, as you rightly say. The grassroots scholarship, $110,000 for that winner. That was Aaron Johnson last year, driver of the number 24 in this race, who, by the way, all the way up to 15th right now. There's a $75,000 scholarship for the highest placed woman as well, Savannah Little, winning that last year. She is currently in car number 63, running in the 18th position. So basically, you enter in this championship, you get not only the best value in racing, but potentially the best return on investment.
It's pure racing, it really is. There's something right about seeing these Mazda MX-5, which are one of the the most exciting and certainly the most fun driving street cars on the streets here, with no speed limits to worry about. Challenge for the lead again between Michael Carter and Celine Roland. The orange on the bonnet, on the hood of the 08, or the red should I say, on that car, picking it out. The multicoloured car in second is Roland, then Wagner with the red, white and black car, first, second and third, and they're lapping a good half a second quicker than everyone else at the moment. And that gap, remember I told you not so very long ago, it was 1.2 seconds. Now we've lost a couple of people in the interim. There's the car that we lost, by the way. That's the car
Justin
that we lost. That was
Piscatel.
the oh no, that's Piscatel. What is it about being in fourth position? Everybody who's been in fourth position.
That's a cursed spot on the racetrack. If I'm Chris Nunes right now in car number 32 for JTR Motorsport, well, my teammate has already needed to make a trip down the pit lane. That was Jerry Thomas. He has not come back out onto the racetrack. Chris Nunes right now is probably a little bit nervous, looking behind him going, hey, Dan Williams, car number 38, do you want to come past me for a little while? Do you want to run in this fourth spot? Because, you know, if you do, come have an opportunity.
Sam Paley as well stopped out on the track. I just saw the darker coloured car and thought it was the black car of Sam, and clearly it wasn't. It was Piscatel with the blue and the yellow wheels. So that's bad news for the McCumbee Macaulay Racing. Jensen Holtzman, their best driver now, in 8th position, behind a trio of Copeland Motorsports cars. We'll keep an eye on that at the moment. Good spread of the teams though in the top 4. Carter Racing, Hickson Motorsports, Spark Performance and JTR. That's your top 4, and the top 3 are looking, well, I think as though whatever truce was going on, it's been broken now, isn't it? Because Celine Roland has decided it's time to get his foot down as they head towards the end of the lap through turn 11. That tricky left-hander, you really can't see the exit of that as you're coming up to it. The curb on the left-hand side has been extended out a little bit, so you get a bit more chance to see through to the exit of the corner. And then that left-right kink before turn 14 is absolutely awesome in anything. My first taste of this track was many years ago in ALMS days, and they were down at the Vitesse program driver. So my first view of the track was trying to keep up with Jensen Holtzman's dad, actually, Andy Smart, who ran the IMSA program at the time. And trust me, that was eye-opening in the best possible way. Half an hour to go, we've had a third of the race, and the top 2 are breaking away. So maybe Celine Roland's tactics here, Shane, trying to push Michael Carter on. Brake discs glowing bright red as he takes the lead again at turn 4. But Carter's right back at him. They've broken away. All of a sudden, there's a second between this leading pair, and we've still got 2/3 of the race to go.
Yeah, Celine Roland wanted to be leading here, particularly on the streets of St. Pete, because he's used to going down the runway, but not in a Mazda, in a plane. He's gotten his commercial pilot's license, and he and his girlfriend Erin and their pet golden doodle Benny frequently fly over to St. Pete, land, have lunch, and then head back to their home in the Orlando area. So very much a special place in more than one meaning for Celine Roland, who got, remember, the win at Sebring when it was 3 cars across the line at basically the same time. Well, Celine is trying to break this streak that we've had. No race win has been more than a second in terms of the margin of victory. Celine would like to change that today.
I heartily recommend the restaurant at the airport, by the way. It's a little restaurant near the control tower area. Smashing place to watch the comings and goings. A little bit further back, down in the park, the bright yellow number 38 is defending, and defending for all he is worth. Daniel Williams in that Copeland Motorsports car, and that is because he's got, I was going to say he had his rear view mirror, but now he's got his left hand mirror full of Chris Nunes for JTR Motorsport. So that has been a change of position in the last lap or so, because Chris was in 4th position when Shea was mentioning the curves of 4th position. So now it's Williams who's taken that over. Hickson and Carter Racing, their 2 drivers, Roland and Michael Carter, separated by nothing at all, about a 10th of a second. then about 3/4 of a second back to second, then this battle to third rather, then this battle between Williams and Nunes, then it's Mars. Altman's made up another position, he's gone by Brian Ortiz. Jenson Altman, who had wickedly bad luck at Sebring when he was collected by another car spearing across the track. It was Bruno Mars, was it? Sorry, it was Luca Mars, wasn't it? Who was across the track. But he's bounced back in the second race, well inside the top 10 at Sebring, putting his championship back on track, and now he's having another good run in 7th at the moment. That's the number 13. Keep an eye open for that. Oh, big slide! Big slide. Overheated the Bridgestone tyres on the back there, and that was Williams just overcooking it. There's a huge amount of grip from these BF Goodrich tyres and from the full race suspension that is fitted to these Mazda MX-5 Cup cars, but eventually the laws of physics do take over. Defending for all he's worth, coming down into turn 1 and under extreme pressure from Chris Nunes. So he turns in, and it's just the transition, I think. Tries to pinch it back down the inside, went a little bit too wide. Saw a puff of dust there, so just lost the rear end, and just one position actually is Luca Mars in the grey and orange cars right there. Then it's Altman, who's broken away by getting on for a second towards it. This is a really good race for Jenson Altman, and I know Alison and Jason will be watching. Best wishes to you. Far too long since we've seen a lot of our racing family friends, of course, but Jenson having another cracking run here.
My hat is off to Daniel Williams, though, John, the driver of car number 38, for having that massive moment. Yes, Chris Nunes was pressuring him like crazy for a solid 2 laps, and he held on, but then eventually gave into the pressure. But Dan Williams is a guy who didn't start racing until he was 43 years old. He's an anesthesiologist by trade, and he does have quite a bit of club racing experience, but again, not in Mazdas. His coach, none other than Justin Piscatel, is the reason that he's been able to come up to speed so well in these cars. And for a rookie season, for him to be running and fighting for that 4th position on the streets of St. Pete, no less, that's a very impressive job.
Well, you can tell his coach he's got further through the race than he did today. Not sure what happened with Justin, but his car is stranded at the side of the... Yeah, maybe... Actually, Danny, no, forget that.
No.
Forget I said that. Forget. Yeah, just move on. Just move on. Roland then, from car to 0.3 of a second, is about a length and a half, maybe 2 lengths of an MX-5 Cup car as they come down the runway again. Oh, I don't believe it.
What?
This is another retirement, is it? And that's Gresham Wagner who's in the pits. And this is the 5. I'm pretty certain that's the 5 car, Shane. Is the 5 car. That's Wagner in the pits from 3rd. Well, he was dropping away. He was dropping away from that lead battle. His lap times were going out a little bit. So now Chris Nunes up into 4th, Williams 6th, then Mars, Alt at 5th rather, Altman in 6th, Ortiz, Unser in the top 10, and he'll be absolutely delighted with that. Then the battles continue further down the field with Juan Hernandez next up in 9th, rounding off the top 10 in what has been a really interesting race. Alex Pachura's in 10th place and 33, and these battles are raging. Drake Kemper in the bright chrome pink car, always easy to pick out the number 99, and he is just outside the top 10 in 13th position. And I think it's over for...
I think you're right.
For the number 5.
Well, he certainly is not hoping that it's day over, because they do have another race later on in the afternoon. So Gresham Wagner, who comes in with a massive points advantage of 150 points over Michael Carter, well, that's just gone out the window, particularly if Michael Carter can hang on to a 2nd place finish. And, by the way, he right now holds the bragging honors of having the fastest lap. That's 10 more points, too. Still waiting for word on what happened to Wagner, though.
Share that the issue is here, Ian. It is today, it's later on today, if that is anything other than fairly a standard fix, then they're going to be pushing for time. And it's the issue of having 2 races on the same day. You can't pull an overnight because there's no night between the 2 races. So they'll want. I think what they were doing there in the pit lane was asking the IMSA official if they could take that car out of the pit lane. They will want to get that car back to its trailer absolutely as quickly as possible and let the Spark Performance guys get working on it. Meantime,
the problem is, though, John, that their paddock is on the outside of the front straight. It is a very long way to go for Gresham Wagner to try and get that car back. But you're right, Johnny Knox was helping them push the car out of the pit lane. So we have to wait and see what happens. But remember, their spare car is on track right now in the form of car number 24 for Aaron Johnson, down in 14th position. Gresham Wagner is furious, though.
Oh, he's not happy. He's not happy. Oh, oof. There's a very expensive helmet that's going to need to be replaced before later on this afternoon. Oh, Gresham, you've got to take the slings and arrows of motor racing and the ups and the downs. He's going to... I understand his frustration, but I think he's going to look back at that and think that wasn't perhaps his best moment. He won't be able to use that helmet again. That is done. So I wonder if he's had the nod there from the team that that car will not be repairable before the next race. Wow. Meantime, Jake Kemper up to 12th position. It's that big battle down at the bottom end of the top 10 into the early teens. And also, we've still got Luca Mars right in behind Daniel Williams. That's the battle for 4th and 5th, so just off the black and yellow car for the Coupland Motorsport colour schemes. Different colours, but they use the same template, and that's where you see it. Shea, what do you know?
Dan Williams actually is being warned for blocking. So his movements back and forth trying to keep his teammate behind him have come under the scrutiny of race control. And he has been issued the warning that if he tries to keep Luca behind him as he has, he'll be making a trip down the pit lane.
Well, there is ship-to-shore radio, and therefore they will be telling him that. Meantime, at the front of the field, whilst all the action's been going on behind him, Celine Roland has made a break, and in the context of Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Racing, 1.3 seconds is a big gap down into turn 1, that battle for 4th. Luca Mars tries to go down the inside of Dan Williams, doesn't get that one done. So Roland leads from Carter in second, 87 from 08. Then a gap of nearly 10 seconds back to Chris Noons, who's on the podium now for JTR. Then the 2 Coupland Motorsport drivers that we're keeping a very close eye on at the moment. Dan Williams has cleaned up his racing, and I think he's all right there. So now, what happened a lap or 2 ago to give Celine Roland so much of a lead? It looked like Michael Carter went round the outside at turn 1 and then got onto the dirt. Again, it's very dusty offline there, and that is where the gap came from. So, coming off the runway, you have grip, then no grip when you're on the pins, then grip again, then no grip. And trying to balance the car through that is very difficult, particularly if you're trying an overtaking manoeuvre. That was Aaron Johnson finding his way through up to, I think that puts him now in 13th position.
I think you're right on that, John. And the interesting thing is that there is actually a car between the Provision Motorsports teammates. David Staub in the number 36, that's the bright blue one, separates John Salmon Kemper, and they have been working together pretty much all race to try and get up through the field, as I think Luca Mars just had a problem too. He's now down to 9th in number 41, Copeland. Oh, nuts, what's going on?
That is exactly right, Shea, because he's dropped back to that battle. Oh, big sideways bump from Kemper as he was eased towards the wall there. That is the number 26 car ahead of him, which is Peter Atwater for another Coupland Motorsports driver in the break. Oh, Kemper's gone straight on at turn 4. That looked like maybe no brakes or a stuck throttle, but my goodness me, that wasn't a mistake, and I didn't. Now, they have got ABS didn't see him trying to make that corner as well, so something very much awry. I wonder with that little tap if he may have cut down a tyre, but he's made contact with the wall for Drake Kemper.
That's the
Not the
second
birthday
time
present
this
he was looking
weekend.
for.
Second time this weekend
Well,
that there has been an issue for Drake.
Well, that looked to me as though that was beyond his control. I won't speculate any more on that because it's hard to know. He'd had a big sideways moment coming through turns 1 and 2, and the normally pristine chrome pink number 99. He's far. Sorry, I'll take that back. He did lock up the left front, and it was locked up for a long time. My goodness, that happened so quick. I didn't notice that the first time. But he had a big sideways moment, and I wonder if there'd been just a little tap with his left front to the right rear of Peter Atwater's car when they were battling earlier on. And unsurprisingly, with just over a third of the race to go, we will see the Mazda safety car. That is actually quite badly damaged on that left front wheel, pointing at a very unusual angle. The good news is the door is opening and Drake Kemper is extricating himself. I don't think he had much choice about going straight on there. Looks like he chose the lesser of two evils. Did very well actually not to run into anyone in front of him. That would have been a very, very big incident indeed. Always find on street circuits, I always find it a bit odd when you can see the normal street traffic. He'd been having a look at the 26, the green and black car, but then he locks it up. Just the left front locking up, and he goes off at very high speed. There are tyre walls there, but he wouldn't have wanted. Well, I think he might have hit one of them.
Yeah.
And John, the wall as well.
The little bit of irony in this situation is that the left front on that 99 car is definitely damaged. Yesterday, in the incident in qualifying, it was the right front of the 99 that suffered the most damage. And then, of course, the rear of Aaron Johnson in car number 24, that was entirely damaged. Gresham Wagner's spare car is now the 24. So Gresham Wagner is still sitting in the pit lane. Not a very happy bunny, as we demonstrated. And by the way, Cece, we do not throw helmets. Just putting that out there for all of our young fans watching the race at home. Yes. This is not a good day for our championship leader.
No, what I read from that, and I'm sort of putting 2 and 2 together and making quite a lot more than 4, probably 362 or something. But I read from that he doesn't think that car's coming back, because that's a $1,200–1,500 carbon fibre helmet that he just wrote off. And he might be somewhat disappointed about his race. He's going to be more disappointed when he has to replace that as well. So Gresham Wagner out, championship leader Celine Roland with his lead pegged back now behind the Mazda safety car.
Chris Nunes is going to be licking his chops, John. He had an 11-second deficit, and now he's right there.
Let's run down the running order as we move into the last third of the race. 15 minutes to go, just under, in round 5 of the 2021 IMSA Mazda MX-5 Cup, presented by BF Goodrich. Celine Roland leads, 3rd in the championship. Michael Carr, I'll come back to that in a second. So was there a little touch side to side between Drake Kemper? Ooh. Yeah, there was.
Yep.
I thought there was. I thought my old eyes didn't deceive me there. And that was left front to right rear, and then the next big braking area, I think that might have been either a steering breakage or a puncture. And I'll come back to the running order in a moment, but that was definitely contact there, which, well, my dad was a police detective and he never believed in coincidence. He may have passed that on to me a little bit. I think that's more than a coincidence there. Shay, tell us what's happened with Gresham Wagner. He needs a new helmet, and what's happened with his car though?
Hearing from the pit lane and Aaron reporting that it was a transmission issue for Gresham Wagner, mechanical. So that is not good news. Now, the question is, will they be able to get the car repaired in time for the second race? They've got, 6 hours to try and get it done. It's going to be close.
Drop the gearbox, put a new one in. If that can be done in the time, it's doable, I would say. With a good team of mechanics, I'd certainly say that is doable. It's a question of what spares they have, how quickly they can get that back to their working area on driver's left, i.e. the airport side of the main straight. Let me go back to the running order then, as clear up is continuing down at turn 4. Celine Roland then leads at the moment. He came into this weekend third in the championship. Michael Carter, also a championship contender, right up there in second. And the key part of that is, I haven't mentioned Gresham Wagner's name because he will not be scoring major points because he's not going any further. So the championship leader with a reasonable lead. This is why I always think it's good to get the points on the board early on. So he's not going to score. So Roland and Carter, then Chris Nooms in a podium position in third for JTR. Fourth different team in fourth position, Dan Williams in the Copeland Motorsport number 38. Jensen Altsman from outside the top 10 to 5th. Now, you know, he's done some passing. Some people have thrown cars at the wall. But at the moment, he's looking good for big points. And Lonnie Unser, who dropped back down to 12th earlier on, has also made the best of other people slowing down, falling around. She's picked her way through to 6th. Then it's Brian Ortiz, then it's Luca Mars, Alex Batura in 9th, and Peter Atwater for Copeland Motorsport in 10th. So Copeland still with 4 cars in the top 10, but nice to see Batura, the slipstream car, in there. A couple of Hickson cars for Lonnie Unser and the leader Celine Roland. Copeland, we've mentioned JTR and Macumbi Makalia. So a lot of the usual suspects, one might say, in terms of the teams, not necessarily the drivers within those teams share, particularly in the middle to bottom part of that top 10 that you might have thought.
I love it. I love seeing a little bit of discrepancy. We're so used to the top 3 being Roland, Carter, and then of course Wagner,
yes,
as they have been running. It's basically the Harry Potter situation where Professor McGonagall says, why is it always you 3 to Harry, Ron, and Hermione? Well,
yes,
those are our 3 characters.
Piscatel out, Sam Paley out as well. Jared Thomas, after a great start in the Silver 96 car, out as well. Drake Kemper walking away a little gingerly, but I think he's all right. On the fly and very unofficially, Shea is looking at the points at the top of the table if it was to finish in the way it is now, but this is Idemitsu Mazda MX-5, so that's a very big if. How does it stand right now, unofficially, Shea?
Well, just to put it into a little bit of perspective right now, we have Celine Royan leading the way. He came in with 1,100 points even. For winning a race, you get 350 points. Then you take into account most laps led, which right now goes the way of Royan, so that's 10 bonus points. The pole position was already established. That went to Michael Carter, so there's 10 points for him, and also 10 points for the fastest race lap, also going the way of Carter. But Carter sits with 1,220 points. For second place, you get 320 points. That means that there will be a huge swing, and it will ultimately result in Gresham Wagner falling down to 3rd, potentially even 4th in the championship, depending on where Nooms finishes.
Wow, that is a big swing. And that tells you why it's super important to score in all the races. Well, we've got 9 minutes to go. It's the first race of the weekend for the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup drivers at St. Pete's. 5th on the season. A season that will stretch through to Michelin Raceway at Road Atlanta. It's taken quite a long time to get that number 99 car on the back of the jib, which suggests to me it was damaged enough that it couldn't just be flat towed. And that car can now be moved out of the way. Oh, that's both sides at the front, not just the left-hand side. I was hoping the right-hand side would look a bit better, but it really doesn't. Big creases.
Take the picture for resale from the right-hand side.
Well, it'd have to be the right rear, I think.
Yeah.
From that, from that one. Super to see Drake Kemper walk away from that. These might be pocket-sized racing cars, but the safety aspect is taken super seriously. FIA spec roll cages, fire systems, of course, in there as well, and all of the requisite safety equipment, including door bars, NASCAR-style door bars on both sides, actually, and the nets on both sides as well, just in case your sponsor wants to take a very scary ride with you around a racetrack somewhere.
I'm in.
So long as it's not me driving, is what you were about to say, though, wasn't it?
No, just so long as it's not you driving at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Anywhere else, I'd be good.
I've learned my lesson from that one, I think, Shane. Won't make that mistake again. Go in a gear higher. Just go in a gear higher. That was my mistake.
Yeah. Going in third, right?
Going in third. Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely.
Coming
down to 7 minutes then. Fabulous run for Macumbi McAleer, and he's their top driver at the moment with the issues for Justin Piscatel and Sam Paley. This could be a very good weekend on the streets of St. Pete for young Jensen.
Yeah.
He had a little mistake, tiny little mistake at Daytona, which was in the part of the track that really punishes very small mistakes. He was coming out of one and into two and just spun it up and went to the inside, the left-hand side, and hit the inside wall, which is about the only place you can do that at Daytona, so he was a bit unlucky there. And then Luca Mars at Sebring went wide at turn one, did a bit of rally cross, speared back across the track, and Jensen basically cushioned his drive to the left-hand side of the track and into the tyre wall there.
Yep.
So an unlucky start to the season, but he came back really strongly in race 2, got inside the top 10 in the second race at Sebring, and now in the top 5 at 5 for Jensen Altsman for Macumbi McAleer Racing. I think we might have 2 laps, possibly 3, if we can get that Drake Kemper car trailered out of the way. It's a busy weekend here on the streets of St. Pete's, so I don't think there'll be any leeway. In fact, I know there will be no leeway given.
Oh.
Well, it will tow on its back wheels, but the front end of Drake Kemper's number 99 car is looking a bit pre-loved.
Oh, my heart breaks
So
for that
he's gone in
Provision
both sides.
Motorsport team.
They've got a lot of work to do. Now that they've got that car hooked up, they'll have to wait for the field to go by this time around, and then they can start moving it. There is, from memory, an opt out into the infield. Now they're at turn 4 at the moment. I think it's the left-hander at the end of the back straight. So they may be able to get there, but they might not be able to do that in one more lap of green, even under yellow rather. Even under yellow, these are relatively short laps with the track length being just under 2 miles, 1.8 miles for the 14 corners here at St. Pete's.
There's another thing complicating as well, John, in that the radio communications from the pit lane to the cars has been weak all weekend long. It seems that there's something going on within the IndyCar paddock. They actually delayed the start of the first practice yesterday because they were having issues getting timing and scoring to work, meaning that the drivers in these cars don't necessarily know how much longer there is to go in the race without the flagger telling them, hey, one more, or hey, it's over.
This is one of the few places as well, Shea, where you can't go back to old-fashioned pit boards because the inside pit wall is actually a very long way away from the track. I have seen people put pit boards out there before, but you'd have to have eyes of a hawk to do that. That's really good work by our cleanup crew, by the way, because they have found an opt-out without having to tow Drake Kemper's car all the way back around. So I reckon we're going to go green next time around.
Yeah, and that should give us
two laps
to go. Well, they've been doing 2 minutes and 16 behind the safety car, and they crossed the line with 3 minutes and 11 left.
Okay. So safety car will speed up a little bit to allow the guys to get their tyres up to temp. Into the last 2.5 minutes, with racing about to resume on the streets of St. Pete in the first race of 2 today here in Florida. Celine Roland, third place in the championship coming into this weekend, leads the motor race from Michael Carter, one of his main championship contenders. But the big news is that we've lost championship leader Drake Kemper with a, championship leader Gresham Wagner with a gearbox issue. Drake Kemper going out and causing this full course yellow with what looked to be an issue with the left front after contact. Down in turn 4 is where he ended up. The contact was coming out of turn 1 into turn 2. So it will be green-white checker. In fact, it'll be green and white together then checker. It's just going to be a 1-lap dash. Safety car pulls away. Field comes under the control of Celine Roland. Hickson Motorsport from Carter Racing Enterprise, and Michael Carter. Roland goes, coming out of the final corner. That's a great restart. Who was awake? Who was asleep? Who's got the draft going down into turn 1? Roland hasn't broken the toe, and certainly hasn't broken the resolve of Carter. He dives to the right-hand side. The leader going defensive into turn 1, and here comes Chris Nunes, trying to go through and make up a position. Also looks like Jason Olsen was challenging Dan Williams there for 4th position. And Olsman's through. Another position made up. That was clean as you like. Down into turn 4. Copeland car down the inside. That was Luca Mars in the orange Copeland car, the orange one-sided on the Copeland colour scheme. Ooh, side by side behind the Brian Ortiz. Petura's in there as well. Oh my goodness, this could all end very expensively. Remember, drivers, remember, there's another race this afternoon.
Yeah.
Roland leads, second Carter, then Nunes, Jensen Altsman up into 4th position after a brilliant restart. There's the 4 of Ortiz making up a position as well on Lonnie Unser. Great driving. You have to really be on it. Turn 14, final lap, final time. The clock has expired, and round 5 of the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup 2021 is going to go the way of the man who won last time out. Celine Roland for Hickson Motorsport, Michael Carter for Carter Race Enterprises in second. Chris Nunes, excellent stuff for JTR, and what a run from outside the top 10 to 4th for Jensen Altsman. The best of the McCumbee McAleer Racing team. Then the 2 Copeland Motorsport drivers, Dan Williams, Luca Mars, and in fact it was 3 together because Brian Ortiz made that move. Lonnie Unser, who had been up in the top 6, just dropping back on the restart there to 8th, but still a good result for her after starting 11th.
Yeah, still a top 10.
Alex Matura for the top 10. Yeah.
Still a top 10 for Lonnie Unser. That's her best finish by 5 positions. So Lonnie Unser, very good drive today for that brand new liveried, looking like an F-16. It flew today, but it ultimately was the pilot who came away victorious on the runway. Celine Roland is going to appreciate this win, I think perhaps even more than the Sebring one.
So on the slow down lap, Celine Roland. Now, he's running the Autism Speaks car as well, with the jigsaw on it. Great social responsibility right up and down this paddock, with a number of great charitable causes and trying to bring focus onto a number of really good causes. Have a look at the series website for all the details. I take it then that Celine Roland led the most laps there as well, Shea, so he'll get the bonus for that.
Correct. He'll get 10 points for that, but it's 20 points going the way of Michael Carter for the fastest race lap. Let me just double check that really quick. And for the pole position, yep, it is still Carter. So that was a very impressive drive from Michael as well to try and maintain his lead now in the championship. And Aaron Johnson comes away with the Hard Charger Award for this race. He started dead last. He passed half the field to finish 11th.
Yeah, and he's got a car that still looks in one place, that number 24 for Provision Motorsport. Fantastic stuff. And thank you to Roger and the team at NASCAR Productions for getting us the picture. And it looks like we're going to see the winners at the end of pit lane. Yes, we are. Fantastic stuff. So Celine Roland goes back to back with wins, with a win here and previously the win at Sebring. And well, he knows the runway intimately as a pilot, and he was on the numbers today as far as his driving was concerned. Really interesting early on at how cut and thrust it was between the leaders. Out of the car now for him, and the big stories were the cars that didn't finish. Jared Thomas, who raced well early on in the silver 96 for JTR. Sam Pellier was up into 4th when his black number 28 bit the dust. Justin Piscatel, he was up into 4th in the blue number 89. And Drake Kemper, of course, going out, accident. But Gresham Wagner, gearbox issues, championship leader, out of the race, and potentially then throwing a spanner in his championship challenge. Wait to see whether that car is repairable before later today. And we have the second race for you live. See if we can get a word with Celine and find out what it looked like from his point of view. Might have hoped that it took a tiny bit longer to get Drake Kemper's car cleared away. He had to endure a restart for one lap. So thanks again to our marshals who did a great job, and corner workers. So Celine Roland from Hickson Motorsports takes the win by half a second in the end, and does his championship no end of good, and has to do it all again later on today. So Celine, hopefully you can hear me. Celine Roland, can you hear me? Not quite got connectivity with the end of the pit lane yet. So great drives through the field, notably for Aaron Johnson, already a winner this season for Provision. And driving up from the back of the field to 11th, not a win, but certainly a very good drive, and picks up valuable points for his championship charge. Lonnie Unser inside the top 10, and Jensen Altsman, yes, he benefited from a few people falling off the circuit, but he raced his way up to 4th and claimed 4th on Dan Williams on that last green flag lap, as he dived through very decisively early on in that lap. So, great afternoon of racing to come with the second round today. Now let's see if we can speak to our winner.
John, how you doing?
Aha, my man, Celine Roland, another
John.
victory. How does that feel?
That feels great. We spoke about it this week. Happy to be talking to you.
I said in commentary that you know this runway very well as a pilot. You were absolutely on the numbers today, and great racing all the way through. But my goodness, how nerve-wracking was it to have to do that one lap restart at the end?
Oh man, that just how long that yellow was. It was kind of wild. I didn't know how much of a run we were going to be. I know my car chief told me, oh, we're probably going to be coming to one to go, and then middle of the lap he said, wait, we're coming to the checkered. And then at that point, I took a deep breath, and if I don't make a mistake, it's mine. So I'm happy. That Hickson Motorsports Autism Speeds car was on rails. It was great.
Another cracking battle early on with yourself, Michael and Gresham. It looked like you guys were battling a little more than I was expecting to see early on, and then ultimately a breakaway by you and Michael Carter. Bad news for Gresham that he finished in the pit lane with gearbox problems, but this is great news for you and for the championship, Celine.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that, and I'm sorry to Gresham. Gresham's a good friend, and I feel bad that he had a mechanical, but he'll be back stronger later this afternoon. I'm sure he's going to come back with a vengeance. So it's not going to be easy this afternoon, but we got one of two down, and I'm happy.
Any change in the tactics or anything you want to change about the car before the second race today?
Maybe compensate for the more rubber that there's going to be. Yesterday we qualified after those stadium super trucks, and it was kind of wild. They don't have any track limits, and it was dusty. So, we'll review the data, we'll review the video, and we'll figure something out. We'll be fast.
Celine, congratulations. Great for you, great for the championship, and thanks for entertaining us again.
Thank you, John. You have a good one. We'll talk later.
I like that confidence from Celine Roland. Hoping we speak to him again in the second race. He is, of course, Hickson Motorsport win from Carter Racing and from JTR. Roland, Carter and Chris Nunes. How about Chris Nunes on the podium as well? We'll be back with the second race from St. Pete's later on, live in sound and vision on IMSARadio.com and on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. For Shea Adam, I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks for being with us. Join us later. I think it's going to be even more crazy.